Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 66. And thy life shall hang in doubt before thee, and thou shalt fear day and night, and shall have none assurance of thy life.
Most right. I am the uncle of Emmett Lewis Till. Sunday morning about 2:30, someone called at the door. And I said, "Who is it?" And he said, "This is Mr. Brian. I want to talk with you and the boy." And when I opened the door, there was a man standing with a pistol in one hand and a flashlight in the other hand. And he asked me, did I have two boys there from Chicago? I told him I have. And he said, I want the boy that done all that talk. They marched him to the car, and they asked someone there, was this is the right boy? And the answer was, here. And they drove toward money.
When Mamie T. Mobley shows up in the courtroom, the white photographers and other reporters go crazy trying to get pictures of her. She is dignified, she's wearing black, she carries herself upright.
What do you intend to do here today?
To answer any questions that the attorneys might ask me to answer.
Do you have any evidence bearing on this case?
I do know that this is my son.
She was just amazingly composed, testifying at the courthouse and saying, yes, it was his body.
To speak eloquently and to be elegantly composed to tell her truth. That was remarkable. She was black girl magic and black excellence rolled into one.
The defense, upon cross-examination, asked in a very aggressive line of questioning whether she had an insurance policy on Emmett Till. Had he ever been to a reform school? Had he ever had trouble with white people? And it was by my reading, a backhanded way of suggesting that he might have been a troublesome boy to begin with.
She knew that justice may not occur in that courtroom, but she had to do her part. And her part was to tell not just about her son truthfully, but also to face down Mississippi.
That morning was a beautiful day. I remember how Jana and Eddie and myself, how we walked to church that morning. We was having such a good time playing with Jana's little black purse, just throwing it and catching it. We never did think of what we was walking into. When we got to church that morning, Jana came down and laid us down, and she went on back upstairs. While we was downstairs, Eddie and me, Cynthia, Denise, and Carol came in the door and went on the other side where the dolls was. When they was finna leave and to go out, I was standing by the sink, and Eddie was standing in front of me where the window was, and she stood there in front of the couch. So when the girls came out, I remember Denise and Eddie to tie the sash of her dress. And when she reached her hand out to tie it, I heard that loud sound, boom, and all of a sudden I said, hey, but the sound was so loud, that's all I could say. And I said, Addie, but she didn't answer. So when the debris came rushing in, I was blind in both eyes. Well, I was a baby, I was 12 during that time. When they did take the bandage off my eye, the doctor asked me, what do I see? They took them off my left eye. And I told him I see a little light. And then he said, what did I see when he took it off my right eye? And I told him I can't see nothing, I was blinded instantly from the bone. I had glass in my face and in my chest, and I went to a doctor not too long ago. He had said I had a piece still in my stomach. And I never have had any children.
The story of the deadliest race massacre in American history begins with two individuals, Dick Rowland and Sarah Page.
On Memorial Day, May 30th, 1921, a young African-American male is walking down Tulsa on Main Street. His name is Dick Rowland. He dropped out of Booker T. Washington High School, where he's a football player, to take a job shining shoes downtown. But he worked in a white patronized shoe shine parlor where there were no toilet facilities for African Americans. So the white owner of the parlor arranged it so his African American employees would walk down Main Street, go to the Drexel building, ride the elevator to the 4th floor where there was a colored bathroom. And the elevator operator in the Drexel building was a young white teenager named Sarah Page.
Sarah Page is manually operating the elevator. Something happens that caused the elevator to jerk or to lurch, and Dick Rowland bumped into Sarah Page. She began to scream. Dick Rowland, frightened, ran from the elevator.
We don't know exactly what happened, but we know something happened. Dick Rowland bumped into her. Dick Rowland stepped on her shoe. She was not expecting him, and she screamed.
And then Dick Rowland is seen running out of the Drexel building.
Sarah Page exited the elevator. He was comforted by a clerk from the local outfit called Renberg's. She told him about being assaulted on the elevator. The clerk, who was comforting her, called the police.
The next day, Tulsa police show up at Dick's home. He's arrested. He's taken downtown to the courthouse, awaiting arraignment.
That could have been the end of the story had it not been for the intervention of the Tulsa Tribune, the daily afternoon newspaper. The Tribune published a story the next day entitled "Nabbed Negro for Attacking Girl in an Elevator." It was a false narrative about an attempted rape in broad daylight in downtown Tulsa.
The story was very incendiary. It used all kinds of buzzwords and menacing images that invoked this notion of a black man assaulting a white woman, which was a euphemism for rape.
The newspaper story is published around 3 o'clock. By 4 o'clock, a small group of white men have begun to assemble around and mill around the courthouse. This goes on for several hours. More and more whites showing up, murmuring about lynching Dick Rowland.
First the crowd is 50, then 100, then 200, then 300, 400, 500 whites gathered outside of the Tulsa County Courthouse, in whose jail Dick Rowland is held in a top-floor jail cell. The crowd wants the sheriff to turn over the prisoner because they're going to kill him, they're going to lynch him.
When black people began to hear around 9 o'clock, 9:15, that there is a possible lynching of Dick Rowland, that's when J.B. Stratford, that's when O.W. Gurley, that's when A.J. Smitherman have a meeting at the offices of the Tulsa Star.
As the newspaper editor, A.J. Smitherman knew that this was a dog whistle, that this was the call for lynching, that it was trouble.
A.J. Smitherman was a civil rights advocate. He had a voice because he had a newspaper. Not only would he write stories, he would actually put his body at risk. I mean, he would actually engage in incidents where there was threats of racial violence.
And so there is a debate, and rightly so, what is the best plan of action? Is it to go downtown armed and offer assistance? Is it to just send, a small group or send one?
The day a member of our group is mobbed in Tulsa, the streets will be bathed in blood. If I can't get anyone to go with me, I will go single-handed and then resign myself to that fate.
Ultimately, the idea of going downtown armed is what prevails.
At about 9 o'clock, a group of African-American World War I vets, all of whom were armed with pistols, rifles, shotguns, many of them had put on their army uniforms, march up to the front steps of the courthouse, and they approach Sheriff McCullough and they say, Sheriff, we are here to help defend the prisoner.
They were told, don't worry, he will not be lynched, no one's going to take him, he's going to be safe here.
And the men leave. But the effect that the vets had on the white lynch mob is just transformative.
Upon seeing this group of black men who have come downtown, boldly holding their weapons, in its very manly, courageous way, it electrifies the whites.
They go nuts. Members of the mob run home to get their own guns.
And not only came back with weapons, brought others with them.
The mob is getting bigger, 600, 700, 800 people, armed, angry.
20 minutes, 30 minutes later, a larger group of black men return to downtown.
They know that a black person is about to be murdered by a lynching in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and they are not going to let that happen.
By this time, the crowd has grown to nearly 2,000, if not more.
One of the white men approaches one of the black men who's holding a gun and said, "What are you doing with that gun?" And the black man says, "What's it to you?"
The white man who's bumped into tries to take away the gun.
A struggle ensues, a shot goes off, and then another shot and another shot.
And then, in the words of the sheriff, all hell broke loose.
And the worst single incident of racial violence in American history begins.